The new maid. Tilana stood nervously at the entrance of the grand human space station, her heart racing with both excitement and a touch of fear. She had never seen a human before, only heard stories about them from her fellow alien workers. They described humans as strange, unpredictable, and sometimes even dangerous. Yet there was something about them that intrigued her deeply. As an alien of the Gadari species, Tilana was naturally curious by nature. Her people thrived on learning new things, exploring the unknown, and studying the unusual. It was no surprise that she had eagerly accepted the job as a maid aboard the human station. The space station was a massive structure, floating silently in the void of space. Its corridors were sleek, metallic, and unfamiliar. Everything felt so different from her home planet, where the air was always warm and filled with the scent of blooming plants. Here, the air was sterile and cold, the sounds of machinery humming in the background. Tilana took a deep breath, trying to calm her nerves. She had been hired to clean and maintain the quarters of the human crew, a task that seemed simple enough. But deep down, she knew this experience would be far from ordinary. As she walked down the long hallway toward her assigned quarters, Tilana couldn't help but notice how the other workers, most of them from different alien species, avoided the humans. They kept their distance, speaking in hushed tones whenever a human passed by. Some even looked at Tilana with pity, as if silently warning her that she had made a mistake by coming here. Tilana, however, was determined to keep an open mind. She was curious, after all, and the curiosity was stronger than any fear she might have. When she finally reached the living quarters she had been assigned to clean, Tilana paused for a moment. The door was a smooth metallic slab with a small panel next to it. She pressed the button, and the door slid open with a quiet hiss. The room inside was tidy but small, with a bed pushed up against one wall, a desk covered in strange human devices, and a bathroom off to the side. Everything felt cold and efficient, unlike the warm, soft colors of her own home. Ilana stepped inside cautiously, her eyes darting around as she familiarized herself with the room. She picked up a cleaning cloth and started wiping down surfaces, her movements slow and deliberate. As she worked, her mind wandered to the stories she had heard about humans. They were a young species compared to most others in the galaxy, but they had quickly become known for their fierce determination and adaptability. Some even said they could be quite charming, though unpredictable in their ways. It was this unpredictability that made the other workers nervous around them. Suddenly, Tilana heard a strange sound coming from the bathroom. Her heart skipped a beat, and she froze in place. It was the sound of running water, something that was not common in Gadari culture. Her people preferred sonic showers, clean, efficient, and without water. Curiosity piqued. She moved closer to the bathroom door, her bare feet silent on the floor. She could hear the water splashing and a faint hum. Someone was inside, humming a tune she didn't recognize. Tilana hesitated at the door, torn between her curiosity and her sense of propriety. She knew she shouldn't intrude, but the curiosity inside her was too strong to ignore. Slowly, cautiously, she nudged the door open just a crack. Steam billowed out, clouding the air, and Tilana caught a glimpse of something she had never seen before: human skin. The human, a man from the look of his broad shoulders and the deep tone of his humming, stood under the spray of water, his back turned to her. His skin was pale, unlike the vibrant colors of the Gadari. The water flowed over him, and Tilana was captivated by how the droplets seemed to shimmer against his skin, sliding down in small rivulets. She had never seen anything like it. Her people did not bathe in water, so the sight was completely foreign to her. It was beautiful in a strange way, and she couldn't tear her eyes away. For a few moments, Tilana stood frozen, her heart racing again, but this time it wasn't fear that caused it. It was wonder. She had always been told that humans were strange, but no one had ever described them as graceful. There was something peaceful about the way the man moved under the water, completely at ease in his own space. Tilana's breath caught in her throat as she took in the sight. She knew it was wrong to stand there and watch, but the scene was mesmerizing. She felt drawn to it, unable to break the spell. Just as she was about to step back, the human shifted slightly, and the sound of water splashing suddenly stopped. Panic surged through Tilana as she realized he might turn around and see her. In an instant, she pulled the door shut, her heart pounding in her chest. She stood there for a moment, her back pressed against the door, breathing heavily. Had he seen her? She wasn't sure, but she wasn't about to wait around to find out. Quickly, Tilana gathered her things and hurried out of the room, her mind racing. As she made her way down the hallway, she couldn't stop thinking about what she had just witnessed. The sight of the human showering had awakened a curiosity in her that she couldn't ignore. She wanted to know more, to understand why humans did things the way they did, what made them so different from everyone else, and why did the sight of that human leave her feeling so strange inside. As she left the room behind, Tilana knew one thing for sure. This job was going to be far more interesting than she had ever imagined. First encounter. Tilana couldn't shake the image of the human from her mind. She had tried to focus on her duties, but every time she passed by the humans in the station, her thoughts wandered back to that strange moment. She had been warned about how unpredictable humans could be, but no one had told her how mesmerizing they were up close. The curiosity she felt wasn't fading. It was only growing stronger. A few days later, Tilana was once again assigned to clean the same human's quarters. She felt a slight flutter of nerves as she approached the door. Would he be there again? Would she accidentally intrude once more? She told herself to be careful, to focus on her work, and avoid any awkward encounters. But deep down, she was secretly hoping for another glimpse of the human. When she entered the room, it was quiet. Tilana let out a small sigh of relief. She placed her cleaning supplies down and began wiping the surfaces, trying to keep her mind on the task at hand. But after a few minutes, she heard it again, the faint sound of water running in the bathroom. Her heart skipped a beat. Was he showering again? Tilana stood still for a moment, battling the urge to peek. She knew it was wrong, knew that she should respect his privacy, but her curiosity was almost unbearable. She wanted to understand why humans bathed this way, why they needed to cover themselves in water. Slowly, she inched closer to the bathroom door, telling herself it was just a quick look, nothing more. She reached the door, which was slightly ajar. Just as before, her fingers hesitated on the handle, and she took a deep breath. Then, gently, she pushed it open just a little more. Steam filled the air again, and there he was, the human, standing under the water, his back turned to her. Tilana couldn't help but feel that same sense of wonder wash over her. The way the water cascaded over his skin, the way his muscles moved as he washed. It was unlike anything she had seen before. She wasn't sure why, but watching him made her feel connected to something larger than herself. She wanted to understand humans better, to learn why they did the things they did. Suddenly, the human turned slightly, and Tilana's eyes widened. She quickly pulled back from the door, her heart pounding in her chest. Had he noticed her? She wasn't sure, but she didn't want to risk being caught. She took a step back, breathing heavily, her face flushing with a mix of embarrassment and excitement. But then she heard a voice. His voice. Is someone there? Tilana froze, her mind racing. She had been caught. Her thoughts scrambled as she tried to think of an excuse, something that would explain why she had been standing outside the door. She didn't want him to think she was some kind of intruder, or worse, a voyeur. After a moment, the door opened wider, and the human stepped out, wrapped in a towel. His eyes scanned the room until they landed on her. Tilana stood there, frozen, her hands trembling slightly. He smiled awkwardly, clearly as surprised as she was. "Oh, I didn't realize anyone was here," he said, his voice friendly despite the situation. "I guess I didn't hear you come in." Tilana opened her mouth to speak, but the words got stuck in her throat. She was mortified. How could she explain that she had been standing outside the door, watching him? Her people didn't even have the concept of bathing in water. How was she supposed to explain her curiosity? I'm sorry, she finally managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't mean to intrude. The human chuckled softly, rubbing the back of his neck. It's all right, he said, his tone gentle. I guess I should have locked the door. You're the new maid, right? Tilana. Lana nodded quickly, feeling a rush of relief that he wasn't angry. She felt the heat rise in her cheeks again, and she looked down at the floor, trying to avoid his gaze. Well, it's nice to meet you, the human said, extending his hand in a friendly gesture. I'm Alex. Lana stared at his hand for a moment, unsure of what to do. Kadari didn't have handshakes in their culture, but she had heard that humans did this as a greeting. Awkwardly, she reached out and took his hand, giving it a small shake. His skin was warm and soft, and she found herself marveling at how different it felt from her own. Nice to meet you too, she said, her voice still shaky. They stood there for a moment, neither of them quite sure what to say. The silence was heavy, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Tilana could feel her curiosity bubbling up again, and she wondered if Alex could feel it too. She wanted to ask him so many questions, but she didn't know where to start. Alex smiled again, sensing her hesitation. Don't worry about it, he said, his tone light. It's an honest mistake. I guess humans are pretty strange, you. Huh. Tilana smiled nervously. A little, she admitted. But I find it interesting. Interesting, huh? Alex laughed softly. Well, maybe I can explain some of our strange habits to you sometime. I'm sure there's a lot we can learn from each other. Tilana's heart fluttered at the idea. Maybe this encounter wasn't so bad after all. Maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something new. A chance to truly understand the human she had been so curious about. As Alex returned to finish getting dressed, Tilana realized that her curiosity had led her to a moment of connection she hadn't expected. And despite the embarrassment, she couldn't help but feel excited for what might come next. Unexpected friendship. Days passed after the encounter between Tilana and Alex, but the memory of their brief conversation lingered in her mind. The awkwardness of that moment had given way to a strange sense of excitement. Tilana found herself looking forward to her next cleaning assignment in Alex's quarters, curious to learn more about the human who had seemed so friendly despite the unusual situation. When the day came for her to return to Alex's quarters, Tilana approached the door with a mix of anticipation and nervousness. She knocked softly, hoping to avoid any surprises this time. To her relief, Alex's voice called out from inside. Come in, Tilana, he said cheerfully. She entered cautiously, noticing that Alex was sitting at a small desk, tinkering with some sort of device. He smiled when he saw her and waved her over. Hey, don't worry, he said with a laugh. No showers today, just working on this gadget. Tilana smiled, feeling more at ease. She began her cleaning duties, but this time, she felt less like a servant and more like a guest. Alex kept chatting with her as she worked, telling her stories about his life on Earth and the strange customs of his people. He talked about everything from the foods humans ate to the sports they played. Tilana listened intently, fascinated by the diversity of human culture. For the first time since arriving at the station, Tilana felt truly engaged. The conversations with Alex awakened a curiosity within her that she hadn't fully realized before. There was something about humans, their unpredictability, their warmth, that drew her in. It wasn't just Alex, though he was certainly more welcoming than most other species she had met. It was the way humans seemed so eager to connect, to share their experiences with others. As the two of them talked, Tilana realized that Alex was equally curious about her. He asked questions about her species, the Gadari, and their way of life. He wanted to know everything, from their method of communication to their approach to art and music. At first, Tilana was hesitant to share too much. The Gadari were known for being private and reserved, and she wasn't used to speaking so openly about her culture. But something about Alex's genuine interest made her feel comfortable. Their conversations became a regular part of Tilana's routine. Every time she was assigned to Alex's quarters, they would spend time talking, sharing stories, and learning from each other. Over time, they developed an unexpected friendship. Tilana began to look forward to her shifts, not just because of the work, but because of the companionship she found in Alex. One day, as Tilana finished her tasks, Alex handed her a small wrapped package. She looked at him curiously, unsure of what it was. "It's a gift," Alex said with a grin. "I figured you might want to try something human. Go ahead, open it." Tilana carefully unwrapped the package, revealing a small handheld device. It was sleek and metallic, with a series of buttons on the side. She looked at Alex in confusion. "It's a music player," Alex explained. "I know you said the Gadari have their own music, but I thought you might like to hear some human tunes. Just press that button, and it'll start playing." Tilana hesitated for a moment before pressing the button. Suddenly, soft music filled the room, a melody unlike anything she had ever heard before. It was strange, yet beautiful, full of emotion and energy. Tilana closed her eyes, letting the sound wash over her. When the song ended, Tilana opened her eyes and looked at Alex with a sense of wonder. "It's amazing," she said quietly. "I've never heard anything like it." Alex beamed. "I'm glad you like it. There's a whole world of music out there, from classical to rock, and everything in between. I can load up more songs for you if you want." Tilana nodded eagerly, her excitement growing. "I would love that." "Thank you, Alex." From that day on, their friendship deepened. They shared more and more about their respective cultures, bonding over their differences and similarities. Alex introduced Tilana to more human music, and she, in turn, showed him some of the Gadari's artistic traditions. They spent hours discussing philosophy, history, and even the stars themselves. Tilana found herself growing more attached to Alex than she had ever expected. He wasn't just a curiosity anymore, he was a friend. And for Alex, Tilana was more than just the alien maid who cleaned his quarters. She was a kindred spirit, someone who shared his desire to understand the universe and its many mysteries. One day, as they were talking about their favorite songs, Alex paused and looked at Tilana with a serious expression. "You know," he said, "I never thought I'd make a friend out here in space, let alone with someone from another species. But I'm really glad we met, Tilana." Tilana felt a warmth spread through her chest. "I feel the same, Alex," she replied softly. "You've shown me a side of humanity I never knew existed. I'm grateful for that." Their bond had grown stronger than either of them could have anticipated. In a universe filled with so much uncertainty and danger, they had found something rare. Friendship between two beings from entirely different worlds. And although they didn't know what the future held, they both knew one thing for sure. Their connection was something special, something worth holding on to. As Tilana left Alex's quarters that day, she couldn't help but smile. What had started as an awkward and embarrassing encounter had blossomed into something meaningful. And though their journey was far from over, Tilana knew that she had found a true friend in Alex, a growing connection. As the weeks went by, Tilana and Alex's friendship continued to deepen. What had started as brief conversations during her cleaning shifts had turned into long discussions about their lives, their hopes, and even their fears. Tilana was surprised by how easy it had become to talk to Alex. The formal distance she had kept between herself and others slowly melted away, replaced by a genuine connection. One day, as she entered Alex's quarters, Tilana noticed something different. The room was dimly lit, and the usual playful smile that greeted her was missing. Alex sat at his desk, his head resting on his hands. He looked troubled. Tilana hesitated by the door. She wasn't sure if she should ask what was wrong. After all, she was just the maid. Was it really her place to pry? But then she remembered all the times Alex had listened to her and supported her without question. She couldn't just ignore it. "Alex," she asked softly, "is everything all right?" He looked up, surprised to see her there. He forced a smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Oh hey, Tilana. Yeah, I'm fine. Just having one of those days, you know." Tilana approached cautiously. "Do you want to talk about it?" Alex sighed, running a hand through his hair. He gestured for her to sit down on one of the chairs by the desk, something she had never done before during her shifts. She sat, her curiosity piqued. "It's just," Alex began, then paused, as if searching for the right words. "Being out here in space, so far from Earth, it's tough sometimes. I miss home. I miss my family, my friends. It gets lonely, you know." Tilana nodded, understanding more than he realized. Though she had never expressed it, she too felt the isolation of living on the space station. The Gadari were a reserved people, and while she had never been particularly close to her family, she still missed the familiar sights and sounds of her homeworld. But for her, it was different. She had come to the station willingly, knowing what it would mean to be so far from home. For Alex, it seemed like the loneliness had crept up on him. "I didn't think I'd miss it this much," Alex continued, his voice low. "I thought I'd be able to handle it. But lately, it's been hitting harder. The distance, the vastness of space, it's overwhelming." Tilana felt a pang of sympathy for him. She reached out hesitantly, placing a hand on his arm. "You're not alone, Alex," she said gently. "I may not be human, but I understand how you feel. This station can be a very lonely place. But you have me. You have our friendship." Alex looked at her, his eyes softening. "Thanks, Tilana. That means a lot." They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of the conversation hanging between them. But it wasn't a heavy silence. It was comfortable, filled with mutual understanding. Tilana could feel the bond between them growing stronger, more personal. This wasn't just about friendship anymore. It was about trust and connection on a deeper level. Suddenly, Alex stood up, shaking off his earlier sadness. "All right," he said with a grin, his energy returning. "Enough of that. I've got something for you." Helena raised an eyebrow. "Another gift?" "Sort of," Alex replied, rummaging through a drawer. He pulled out a small box and handed it to her. "Go ahead. Open it." Tilana opened the box carefully and found a small, delicate bracelet inside. It was made of silver, with tiny gemstones embedded in it. The craftsmanship was exquisite, and she could tell it wasn't something Alex had just picked up at the station's shops. "It's beautiful," she whispered, admiring the bracelet. "Where did you get it?" Alex smiled proudly. "I made it. Well, I had some help from the station's fabricator, but I designed it myself. The gemstones are from Earth. I thought you might like something to remind you of home. Well, not your home exactly, but of the connection we've made here." Tilana's heart swelled with gratitude. She carefully slipped the bracelet onto her wrist and held it up to admire the way it caught the light. "Thank you, Alex," she said sincerely. "This means so much to me." Alex's smile widened. "I'm glad you like it. I just wanted to do something special for you, to show you how much I appreciate our friendship." For the first time in her life, Tilana felt truly valued, not just as a worker, but as a person. She had always been a quiet observer, someone who kept to the shadows and didn't form many close connections. But Alex had seen through that. He had reached out to her and drawn her into his world. And now she realized that she had done the same for him. As they continued to talk, Tilana couldn't help but reflect on how much had changed since their first awkward encounter. She had never expected to form a bond with a human, especially not one like Alex. But here they were, two beings from different worlds, brought together by the vastness of space and the loneliness that came with it. Their connection was growing stronger with every passing day, and Tilana found herself looking forward to their conversations more and more. She knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, she and Alex would face them together. Because in a universe filled with uncertainty, they had found something truly special: friendship, trust, and a connection that transcended the boundaries of species and culture. As Tilana left Alex's quarters that evening, she couldn't help but feel a sense of warmth and contentment. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she belonged, not just to a crew or a job, but to something much more meaningful. And that, she realized, was a gift far greater than any bracelet. Unspoken feelings. The bond between Alex and Tilana continued to deepen in the weeks that followed. Their friendship was now a central part of both their lives. Each day, they sought each other out, whether for a quick chat in between Tilana's duties or for long, thoughtful conversations late into the night. There was an unspoken understanding between them, a comfort in each other's presence that felt as natural as breathing. But recently, Tilana had noticed something different. Her heart would race whenever Alex smiled at her, and she caught herself thinking about him long after her shift ended. She tried to ignore it at first, chalking it up to her unfamiliarity with human emotions. Yet deep down, she knew it was more than that. Something had shifted within her, and it both excited and terrified her. One evening, after she had finished her tasks for the day, Tilana found herself lingering outside Alex's quarters. She wasn't sure why, but a part of her felt drawn to him more than usual. Taking a deep breath, she pressed the door chime. "Come in," Alex's voice called from inside. Tilana stepped into the room, and there he was, sitting at his desk, tinkering with a small device. He looked up and smiled when he saw her. "Tilana, I didn't expect you to drop by tonight. Everything okay?" "Yes," she replied quickly, though her heart was pounding in her chest. "I just wanted to see how you were." Alex set the device down and gestured for her to sit on the couch. She took a seat, feeling a bit nervous but trying to hide it. "I'm doing all right," he said, his tone light. "Just working on some repairs. How about you?" Tilana hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I've been thinking." "About what?" Alex asked, leaning back in his chair. Tilana fidgeted with her hands, unsure of how to express what she was feeling. "About us. About our friendship. It's strange to think that just a few months ago, we barely knew each other. And now, well, I feel like you're one of the most important people in my life." Alex's expression softened. He stood up and walked over to the couch, sitting beside her. "I feel the same way, Tilana," he said quietly. "I never expected to connect with someone out here the way I have with you. You've become really important to me too." Their eyes met, and for a moment, the room seemed to grow still. Tilana could feel her heart racing, and she was sure Alex could hear it. The air between them felt charged, like there was something unspoken lingering just beneath the surface. Tilana started to speak but stopped herself. She wasn't sure how to put her feelings into words. She wasn't even sure if she should. Was this appropriate? Was it something humans did? She didn't know, and the uncertainty made her feel vulnerable. Alex seemed to sense her hesitation. He gently reached out and placed a hand on her arm, his touch warm and comforting. "Tilana," he said softly, "you don't have to say anything if you're not ready. But just know, whatever you're feeling, you're not alone in it." Tilana looked at him, her eyes searching his face for any hint of what he might be feeling. She saw kindness there, and something else, something that mirrored the emotion she had been grappling with. It gave her the courage to speak. "I've never felt this way before," she admitted quietly, "about anyone. It's confusing." Alex smiled gently. "I get it. This whole situation is pretty unusual. But I think it's okay to be confused. It's okay to not have all the answers right away." Tilana nodded, feeling a bit more at ease. "Do you ever feel the same?" she asked cautiously, afraid of the answer but needing to know. Alex's expression grew more serious, but there was a warmth in his eyes that reassured her. "Yeah," he said softly. "I do. I didn't expect it, and I've been trying to make sense of it too. But I know that whatever this is between us, it's real, and I wouldn't trade it for anything." The words hung in the air, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence was heavy, but not uncomfortable. It was filled with the weight of what they had just admitted to each other. Ilana felt a strange mix of relief and uncertainty. On one hand, it felt good to know that Alex shared her feelings. But on the other hand, it left her with so many questions. What did this mean for them? Could a human and a Gadari even have a relationship beyond friendship? And if they could, what would that look like? "I don't know what happens next," Tilana said after a while, voicing the thoughts swirling in her mind. Alex nodded, understanding her uncertainty. "Neither do I," he admitted. "But I think we'll figure it out together. No pressure, no rush. We'll take it one step at a time." Tilana smiled, feeling a sense of calm settle over her. She appreciated Alex's patience and understanding. He wasn't pushing her for answers, and that made her feel safe. It made her feel like whatever this was, they could handle it together. "Thank you, Alex," she said softly, "for everything." Alex smiled back at her. "Anytime, Tilana. I'm just glad we've got each other." As the night went on, they continued talking about their favorite memories, their dreams for the future, and even some lighthearted stories about their experiences on the station. But there was an unspoken understanding between them now, a deeper connection that had been acknowledged, even if it wasn't fully defined. Tilana left Alex's quarters that night feeling lighter, but also more aware of the complexities of her emotions. She didn't have all the answers yet, but she knew that whatever the future held, she and Alex would face it together. And for now, that was enough. The unexpected proposal. Days turned into weeks, and the bond between Alex and Tilana only grew stronger. While neither of them openly discussed their feelings since their heart-to-heart, their connection had deepened into something unmistakable. The crew noticed it too. Subtle glances, shared smiles, the way they gravitated toward each other during downtime. But in the busy life of the space station, no one questioned it. If anything, people appreciated the calm friendship that seemed to balance their often hectic days. One morning, Tilana was going through her usual routine, tidying up Alex's quarters before he returned from his shift. Everything was as it usually was, except for one thing, a small, ornately wrapped box sitting on his desk. Curiosity piqued. Tilana walked over to it, noticing a note attached. Her name was written on it in Alex's familiar handwriting. She hesitated before opening it, her heart already starting to race. Carefully, she unfolded the note, and as she read it, a strange mixture of emotions washed over her. "Tilana, I've been thinking about us, about what we talked about the other night. I know we don't have all the answers yet, but I wanted to give you something that has always been a symbol of connection and trust in my culture. Inside this box is a token of friendship, or maybe something more, depending on how you feel about it. No pressure, but if you're ready to take the next step, I'll be here. Alex." Tilana's hands trembled as she opened the box. Inside, nestled in soft fabric, was a delicate silver bracelet, its design intricate but elegant. She wasn't entirely sure of its significance in human culture, but the gesture itself spoke volumes. It wasn't just a token of friendship. It was something more personal. Her heart fluttered as she traced her fingers over the bracelet. Could this be the next step for them? She remembered their conversations, the feelings they had both admitted to, and the way her heart seemed to respond whenever she was around him. It was confusing, and yet comforting at the same time. She turned the bracelet over in her hand, considering what this meant. Could she really take this step with Alex? Was she ready to bridge the gap between their cultures and species, to explore the depth of what they felt for each other? As she was lost in thought, the door slid open, and Alex entered the room, stopping in his tracks when he saw her holding the bracelet. "Tilana," he said softly, his voice both hopeful and unsure. "I wasn't sure when you'd find that." Tilana turned to face him, her heart pounding in her chest. She saw the vulnerability in his eyes, and it was a look she hadn't seen from him before. It was as if he had laid everything bare in that small box, waiting to see how she would respond. "I wasn't expecting this," Tilana admitted, holding up the bracelet. "But I've been thinking too." Alex approached her slowly, not wanting to rush her. "And what have you been thinking?" Tilana took a deep breath. "That? I'm scared. I've never felt this way before, and I don't know what to do. But I also know that I don't want to lose what we have." Alex nodded, his expression understanding. "You won't lose it, Tilana. Whatever happens, we'll figure it out together. No matter what this becomes, we'll still have each other. That's all I care about." Tilana smiled softly, feeling the wave of relief wash over her. She knew Alex meant every word, and it made her feel safe. Safe enough to take the leap. She extended her hand, holding out the bracelet. "Will you help me put it on?" she asked. Alex's eyes lit up, a mixture of surprise and joy crossing his face. "Of course," he said, taking the bracelet from her and gently fastening it around her wrist. Once it was secure, Tilana looked down at it, feeling the weight of its meaning. It was more than just a piece of jewelry. It was a promise, a commitment to whatever the future might hold for them. Alex stepped back, his expression soft and hopeful. "How does it feel?" Tilana smiled, meeting his gaze. "It feels right." There was a moment of quiet understanding between them, the air charged with the weight of their unspoken feelings. They weren't rushing into anything, but the gesture had changed something between them. It was a new beginning, a step forward into uncharted territory. Tilana wasn't sure what would happen next. There were still so many uncertainties, so many questions left unanswered. But she knew one thing for certain. She wanted to face those uncertainties with Alex by her side. And for now, that was enough. Later that evening, as they sat together in Alex's quarters, talking and laughing like they always did, Tilana couldn't help but glance down at the bracelet on her wrist. It gleamed in the low light, a constant reminder of the bond they shared. Whatever the future held for them, she felt ready to face it. As long as they were together, she knew they could overcome whatever challenges came their way. The journey ahead was still unknown, but for the first time, Tilana felt excited about it. This was just the beginning of something new, something special, and she was ready to embrace it. A new journey begins. Tilana stood in the observation deck, staring out at the vast expanse of space. The stars twinkled in the distance, like tiny lights guiding the way forward. Her fingers absent-mindedly traced the silver bracelet on her wrist, a constant reminder of the new chapter she had begun with Alex. It had been a few days since Alex had given her the bracelet, and though things hadn't drastically changed between them, there was a new layer of understanding, a deeper connection that neither of them needed to voice. They had shared something meaningful, and that was enough. But as much as their bond had grown, Tilana couldn't shake the feeling that something big was on the horizon. The space station had been abuzz with rumors of new missions, exploration opportunities, and alliances being forged with alien species in the far reaches of the galaxy. Tilana felt a sense of excitement, but also uncertainty. Her role as a maid aboard the station had given her a sense of purpose, but now she wondered if there was more she could do. Her connection with Alex had opened her eyes to the possibilities of understanding different cultures, and she had begun to feel the pull of adventure. What if her place wasn't just here, tending to others, but out there, among the stars? Lost in thought, Tilana didn't hear Alex approach. He stood beside her, watching her for a moment before speaking. "Penny for your thoughts?" he asked, his voice gentle. Tilana turned to face him, smiling softly. "I was just thinking about everything. About us, about what's next." Alex nodded, following her gaze out to the stars. "Yeah, I've been thinking about that too." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment before Alex continued. "You know, there's talk of a new exploratory mission coming up. They're looking for volunteers. It's a joint mission, humans and other species working together to explore uncharted territories." Tilana's heart skipped a beat. "Really? What kind of mission? They don't have all the details yet, Alex explained. But it's going to involve deep space travel, possibly even first contact with species we've never encountered before. It's the kind of mission that could change everything. Tilana's mind raced. First contact with new species, exploring uncharted space. It sounded like the kind of adventure she had always dreamed of, even if she hadn't realized it until now. Are you going to volunteer? She asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Alex shrugged, but there was a glint of excitement in his eyes. I'm thinking about it. It's a big step, but it feels like the right one. Tilana hesitated before speaking, the words weighing heavily on her mind. Do you think there's a place for me on a mission like that? Alex turned to her, surprised. Of course there is. You're more than capable, Tilana. You've already proven that. And besides, he added with a smile, I wouldn't want to go on this adventure without you. Tilana's heart soared at his words. The idea of venturing into the unknown with Alex by her side was both thrilling and terrifying. But more than that, it felt right. Just like the bracelet he had given her, this was a step forward into something new, something they could face together. Then I want to volunteer too, Tilana said, her voice filled with determination. I want to see what's out there, beyond this station. I want to learn, to experience new things. And I want to do it with you. Alex's smile widened, and he reached out to take her hand. Then it's settled. We'll sign up together. As they stood there, hand in hand, looking out at the vastness of space, Tilana felt a sense of peace wash over her. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in her life, she felt ready to face it head-on. The journey ahead would be filled with challenges, no doubt. There would be moments of fear, uncertainty, and perhaps even danger. But with Alex by her side, Tilana knew she could handle whatever came their way. Together, they would embark on this new adventure, an adventure that would take them to the far reaches of the galaxy, where they would discover new worlds, new species, and perhaps even new aspects of themselves. It was the beginning of a new journey, and Tilana couldn't wait to see where it would lead. Later that day, Alex and Tilana submitted their names as volunteers for the upcoming exploratory mission. The crew members were excited for them, offering words of encouragement and support. It was clear that everyone believed in them, trusted them to represent their species on this important voyage. As Tilana prepared for the mission, packing her belongings and saying her goodbyes to those she had grown close to, she couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation. This was more than just a mission. This was a chance to discover who she truly was, beyond her role as a maid, beyond the confines of the space station. With the bracelet on her wrist and Alex by her side, Tilana felt ready to take on the galaxy. She was no longer just an observer of life. She was a participant, an explorer, and perhaps even a pioneer in the new era of interspecies cooperation. As the days passed and the launch date grew closer, Tilana and Alex spent more time together, preparing for the challenges ahead. They trained, studied alien cultures, and discussed the possibilities of what they might encounter. And through it all, their bond only deepened. The unspoken connection between them had blossomed into something stronger, something that neither of them could ignore any longer. When the day finally came for the mission to begin, Tilana and Alex stood side by side in the launch bay, ready to embark on the greatest adventure of their lives. The doors to the shuttle opened, and as they stepped inside, Tilana felt a sense of excitement she had never experienced before. This was it, the moment she had been waiting for. As the shuttle lifted off, carrying them into the unknown, Tilana glanced at Alex, who gave her a reassuring smile. Whatever the future held, they would face it together. And for Tilana, that was all that mattered.